Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. We are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Joanne today. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're doing this. So the idea is, here's you and I together for the first time ever. And this is your session and your opportunity and my opportunity to work with you. So if you could wave your magic wand and have whatever you wanted with food and body, what would that be for you?
I would like to get to a weight set point different than the set point that I have. I often get to a set point of ideal weight. I guess let me go back. My set point, and what I mean by that is like what tends to be like a normal, what's familiar to me, but I'm usually a little heavier, 10 to 15 pounds heavier than I ideally would like to be. And so every time I get less, every time I get to where I want to be, it's like it goes back to a set point. Do you know what I mean by set point?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like your body, even though you get to where you want to be, your body wants to be somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, I want to be here, but then it goes here, and I know it's in my head because maybe I get to the weight I want to be, and then I'm like, oh, hey, you know what? I have some room to wiggle around. I can, eat that cookie or whatever, and then before you know it, I'm back to that heavier point that I am at.
And then you stay there unless you do something.
Yeah. But then it's always in my head, like, like I just would like to get to a point where I'm really like the ideal weight for me is what is really comfortable and familiar. I'd like to change my set point. There you go. Change my set point.
Got it. Okay. So what would be the number? What would be the weight number that you would be at in your ideal universe?
130.
Okay. So that means right now you are at what?
140, 145, depending. Yeah.
Okay. So when you do get to 130 and your body ends up going back, but when you do get there, how do you get there? What makes you get to 130?
I usually, let's see. I stop eating sugar, flour, bread, alcohol, and I'm way more physically active.
And when you say I'm way more physically active, does that mean you're just like exercising, going to the gym, walking? Like, what do you do different?
It usually means that I hike 10 miles a week. I mean, like on a weekend, and then I'll do like 2 to 3 miles most days.
So when you're on that diet of no sugar, no alcohol, no flour kind of thing, is that hard?
No, it's not that it's hard. I mean, once I get into the groove of it, then it's actually good. It feels good. But there's like like a yummy cookie, a glass of wine, it's very seductive, those foods.
Yeah. So what you're saying to me is that the reason why you then go back to the other number, reason why the weight comes back on, is you kind of start to get tempted by the things you've previously just let go of.
Right.
Is that true? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long has this kind of dance been going on for you?
Decades.
Decades.
As long as I remember.
Like roughly how long?
Oh, 30 years.
Wow. Okay. That's an interesting dance to be in for 30 years. So what's the longest time you've stayed at the 130-ish point?
Maybe 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's different is I'm 62. When I turned 60, like my whole metabolism changed, and I have more belly fat than I ever did before. And so it's really disconcerting to me because I was, able to, in the past, exercise the belly fat away, but now it doesn't seem to go away even when the weight goes down.
Body doesn't always do what we want it to do. That is one annoying feature of being a human being in a body.
Mm-hmm.
It does not conform to our humble demands.
Right.
It's like health-wise, weight-wise. So are you in a relationship these days?
Yes.
And how does your partner feel about your body?
Well, it's a new relationship. He loves my body. I mean, I'm sure he would love it if I was thinner. We haven't talked about it because he's just so wonderful, and we're very physical. And
Mhm. So you're sure he would love it if you were thinner? I wonder about that.
I think he would love it if I were fitter.
Has he ever said anything to you?
Well, so he's very fit. He's a retired firefighter, so he spent most of his life having to be fit.
Mhm.
He gave me when I showed interest in his exercise routine, he gave me a little book about, what is it called? Strong Bodies or something like that.
Mhm.
So I thought it was a kind, gentle gesture.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. It might be interesting if the moment strikes you to ask him, hey, how do you feel about my body? If I was going to have this body right here
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of my life and our time together, would you still be attracted to me? You might be surprised at what he says, because what I've noticed over the years is that what women think about their own bodies is very different from what men are thinking about their bodies. Women get ultra specific.
Uh-huh.
And the conversation in your mind is so strong and so powerful that you think, or it's easy to think that, oh, well, that's what everybody else is thinking out there because I'm thinking it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And you've already told me you guys are physical, he's happy. So I'm just noting that, like,
Mm-hmm.
what a good thing to be in a relationship with a person who is he's not asking you to change. He's giving you definite evidence that he's happy with you, happy with your body.
Yeah. True. Absolutely.
I find that 19 out of 20 times, maybe more, men just want their partner to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I hear so many women say that. I'll ask this question. How does he feel about your body? He loves my body. He just wants me to be happy. He hears me going through all this stuff about weight, and he just wants me to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of true, because if you're happy, then you feel good about yourself. You feel good about your body. You're more physical. You're more confident. You're more out there, and it's more fun for him.
Yeah.
I'm just talking as if we're like I'm your best buddy here,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm your older brother because I'm older than you. And men tend to like a woman who's in her body,
Mm-hmm.
like just in it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I like what I got.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt. I mean, I have no doubt that he shows, he in every way, he shows me he's happy with who I am and how I am and what I am.
Mm-hmm.
For me though, I would like my clothes to fit better. For me, I would like to feel fitter.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So, but for you, feeling fitter means losing weight. Let's just be clear about that, right? Feeling fitter means less weight.
Fitter.
Fitter. So what if you were fitter
Yeah.
and your weight didn't change?
Well, that
Maybe.
would be fine. That would be fine.
Okay. So then feeling fitter really, correct me if I'm wrong, is a function of you just getting out there and doing the things that you enjoy that make you feel fit.
Yeah. But it hasn't seemed, what I've been doing hasn't seemed to be like when I used to do all the hiking, which is how it worked. And I'm not hiking as much, but it's even, I mean, I'm very physical. I'm really physical. I moved 4 yards of soil today. I mean, I don't move away from physical effort and work.
Mm-hmm.
Just this, I think my age is just making things harder. So I just want to figure out how to adjust for that. My metabolism, maybe eat less and just, figure it out.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a couple of opinions, and they will be varied opinions. So there's one part of my brain that I can make suggestions to help you potentially, and I mean potentially, problem solve, like how do I, change my metabolism? How do I change my set point? I don't know. Set point is it's a theory, it's not a fact. And I think, another way to say set point or to describe it is that the body has its tendencies, the body has its habits. So you've noticed, hey, I used to do things in a certain way, movement wise, and yeah, I'd lose weight, I'd lose the belly fat, and now my body's a little different. So I think that's accurate. I think the body changes.
Mhm.
And the challenge is how much time, energy, and effort do you want to put in to potentially, and I mean potentially, creating a shift such that you can have this body that you want.
Right. Right.
I'm like wondering, like, what's worth it?
Right.
So I'll make some suggestions in a moment about what I would do. I think if I wanted to, okay, how do I, as a person 60 and over, how do I start to tweak my metabolism?
Mhm.
But there's another part of me that just kind of thinks, like, why bother
Mhm.
at this stage of the game?
Mhm.
You've been doing this for decades.
Mhm.
You've been on this back and forth for decades. And why not just enjoy yourself? And yeah, you'll have the cookie every once in a while. And you're not going to go crazy and just eat cookies and ice cream all day. Sounds like you know how to basically take care of yourself and just find the kind of diet where you're eating healthy, but you have some fun things here and there, because the reality is you've been able to lose weight by going on what I'm going to call a more, stringent diet, a more strict diet, a diet that has just more narrow confines, which is great.
Mhm.
But then you say to me, and which I totally understand, like, hey, I want to, these are not your words, but you want to eat something fun.
Mhm.
And that's tempting. And that temptation overcomes all this other desire you have, and all these decades of effort, those little temptations overcome.
Yeah.
So I think to myself, why fight it? Especially if you're not living in a world where there's a law that says, no man is going to look at you or date you or be with you unless you're at 130 pounds. No, you have a great guy, and you have great chemistry, and hallelujah, like, enjoy it.
I know. It's true.
Don't waste any time like looking at your body and beating up on it,
Mm.
because there's somebody else you're with who's doing the opposite. He's looking at your body and just wants more. So that's and I get when you say, well, it's going to make me happy if I lose the weight. It's going to make me happy to fit into the clothes. I hear you. So either get different clothes and then you'll fit into them,
Right.
and change the set point on what you believe is going to make you happy. Because right now your set point for happiness is 130.
Right.
And you tell yourself, I'm not going to be happy unless I hit that and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And that determines your happiness. That is rather unfair to you.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
I will only be lovable. Imagine if he said that. Imagine if you guys were dating on the first date and he said, honey, do me a favor, stand on this scale here. I want to weigh you. And you weigh 140, you weigh 145. This relationship is going no further. I am not going to care for you unless you lose 10 or 15 pounds. You dump the guy.
Yeah.
You'd say, adios. What a jerk, right?
Right.
How dare he?
Right.
But you're
That's what I'm
saying those
doing.
same things. Yes.
That's what I'm doing to myself. Yeah.
You're being that weight loss bully.
True. Good point.
Yeah. And it's, and the reality is this is how we, and in particular, women get conditioned in this world. This is the programming, this is the conditioning that it is almost impossible to escape for most females, for most women.
Yeah.
The conditioning called somehow you determine, because of all the messages that you've gotten over the years from the TV and the media and the images and the supermodels, that you got to be a Twiggy in order to be lovable.
I know.
And
True.
yes.
Yeah.
And then we take that and we make it a religion.
Right.
And we worship it.
I know, it's so hard because you're right. I mean, I had the little Barbies, with the tiny little waist and the big boobs and, and I've never been a Barbie, no matter how much I weigh, and it's, and I know that I didn't even let my children have Barbies for that reason. I know it, and yet still I do it to myself.
Yes. So this is the time in life where you can undo that. You have the smarts, you have the wisdom, you have the experience. And how old would you say you were when you first started dieting?
Well, I would say, I was in high school when not really dieting, but when I've never really felt like my body weight was right, even though if I had my body weight now that I did almost any time in the past, I would be, I want to tell my old self, oh my God, look what you had,
Yes.
like I see pictures of myself when I knew in my head, I thought, back then, if only I was weighed less. And I look back and I'm like, you were beautiful. Your body was great back then.
Beautiful. So that's what, if we can get in our time machine and go into the future, 95-year-old you would tell 62-year-old you, like, what's your issue? This is, you're beautiful, you're fine, enjoy it. Like, that's what the 90-something-year-old you would likely say to you, like enjoy it.
Yes, I have no doubt.
So what I think happens is that the moment, the age that we start to believe my body's not good enough, I'm not at the right weight. And what that really means is I'm not okay as who I am. I'm not acceptable. I'm not lovable as who I am. Y'all out there aren't going to love me and accept me because I don't weigh the right amount. So that age, a part of us stays that age. So when you're 30, 40, 50, 60, there's a part of you that's still that 15-year-old girl.
Right.
And that 15-year-old girl is running the show when it comes to eating decisions and exercise decisions. And she's running the show when it comes to how you're thinking about your body and how you're imagining your life in relationship to your body. The 62-year-old woman in you, she doesn't get a lot of airtime, is my guess.
Right.
The queen in you is not being heard. So the queen in you is queen sits on her throne. She knows who she is. She's not trying to be a princess anymore because that time has passed. And she's being a queen, which is, I know who I am. Queen doesn't sit on her throne and say, am I okay? Do you all love me? Do I need to lose weight? Are you sure these clothes look good on me? No, a queen knows who she is. She accepts herself and she's empowered.
Mm-hmm.
And she's giving of her energy, as opposed to, how do I get energy? By losing weight, and then I'm going to be lovable somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm saying is, I would love for you to bring in the voice of the woman in you, the queen in you, when it comes to your decisions and your thinking around weight and food.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm suggesting that, let it go.
Uh-huh.
Really consider letting it go and just enjoying what you have now, because that's what you wish you could have said to the younger you anyways.
True. Yeah, really true.
So why would that be different today than it was, years ago?
Right. Exactly.
Now, if you said to me like, hey, yeah, I care about my weight, and it's totally fair to have a preference, It's totally fair to have our desires. Yeah, I wish to look like this. I wish to weigh this. I think that's useful up until the point where it stops us from living our best life. So I want to see you live your best life. And yeah, you can do things and try things that might tweak your metabolism. Example, infrared sauna. You can buy a portable infrared sauna. It looks like a little tent. Looks like the cheapest ones, and they're not that expensive. Maybe $150, $200, I don't know. And you lie in it and you sweat. And when you're sweating, your metabolism is up. Your calorie burning is up.
Mm-hmm.
Your fat burning is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very nice passive way to play with tweaking your metabolism. What it will do is it'll be detoxing.
Right.
So at the very least, you're going to detox.
I've been wanting to get one.
Say again?
I've been wanting to get one of those. I didn't
Yes.
think about it for that reason.
Yeah, there you go. So it's very detoxifying.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, it can, for many people, stimulate some fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because A, part of that's detoxification, and B, part of it is you're just increasing your core temperature and you're basically stimulating fat burning.
Yeah.
So that's something I would look at doing. There's other ways to play around, but it's more difficult. It's more expensive. You can go do IV nutrition and try different kinds of concoctions, because sometimes that will tweak metabolism. But that's, like I said, it's a little more specialized, and there are a lot of medical practices out there, or more and more, that are using what they call peptide therapies. And there are these things you could literally order and inject yourself. And there's, peptides that they're using to stimulate metabolism. So it's natural, but it's a little more cutting edge, but it's expensive, but other than that, you haven't had good success with the dieting piece. So I don't even want to say, well, eat this and don't eat that, and say, well, just manipulate the food on your plate, because you're probably at a stage in life, and you've probably been there for a while, where you actually just want to have a diet that feels good to you, makes you feel healthy, and gives you pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you go on your sugarless, flourless, etc. diet, you're feeling pleasure deficient at some point.
Yeah.
You're feeling a little fun deficient. And that's strong enough to have you go against your own wishes.
Yeah.
Which is really telling me that on a certain level, that is your wish. Your wish is like, hey, I want to enjoy my experience.
Yeah, right. Because life is short. Like,
It
why
is.
not enjoy a glass of wine once in a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And that might be well worth it to let go of losing 10 or 15 pounds that nobody else cares about except for you.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
It's letting go of an old friend, dieting for a lot of people it's like a friend.
Yeah.
It's a best friend in the head, and it's familiar, and it's when I say it's like a religion, it's got its rules, it's got its guidelines, it has its rituals. Okay, so now here's my weight loss ritual. I put aside the sugar, I put aside the alcohol. There's a kind of reverential quality to it, because I'm going to do these things and I'm going to have these wonderful enlightening benefits. I'm going to be happy, because the only reason you want to lose weight, only reason that you want to do that is so you can be happy. Basically going to be happier. If you feel healthy, you're going to feel happier. If you fit into whatever clothes, you're going to feel happier. So why not just focus on the happiness part? Let's just be happier.
Mm-hmm.
And not have to make that happiness dependent on losing a bunch of pounds of body fat that has just been too difficult to control.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think of it this way, that our relationship with food and body on so many levels, it's a great teacher.
Yeah.
It's a great teacher for us. So if I'm just looking at what's my relationship with my body, what's my relationship with food, what are my eating challenges, what are my health challenges, what are they teaching me? And there might be many lessons that it's teaching us. If your body is saying, I don't want to do this, maybe it's less about you changing your body set point, and more about, as I mentioned, you changing your set point around what's going to make you happy.
Right. My acceptance, changing my acceptance of myself level, set points.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a spiritual practice. That's a religious practice. That's a transformational practice.
Yeah.
And go.
I was just saying, I could wrap my head around that.
It's a practice worth doing, because it's going to make you happier, independent of your weight.
Right. On so many levels. Yeah, I could imagine the freedom. I can imagine the freedom that I would feel. I mean, if I asked myself, what would it feel like if I let go of that old friend in my head and accepted who I am, how my weight is now? What would that feel like? Well, that would be freaking amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It would be.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. It would be amazing, and you would feel free, and you could be you can enjoy your body, and you don't have to wait.
Right.
And then you can let the body be what it is, and you don't know what it is. I mean, you know your body, but there's also a place where there's still more to discover, because you don't know your body as well from the part of the relationship called, and now body, I'm just going to accept you and not try to change you. And I'm going to experience what life is like being in relationship with you, not trying to change you.
Right.
Woo! That's a whole new relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the feeling of freedom feels light. People often think when I lose weight, I'm going to feel lighter. Yeah, that can technically happen for sure. But a lot of times people are very heavy about their weight.
Right. Right. that's the heaviest part of it, right?
Right.
Right.
People can be heavy about 5 pounds.
Right.
So yeah, there's obviously a certain lightness that we feel when we shed the body of a certain number of pounds. But there's also a lightness that we feel when we find more inner freedom, when we find more self-acceptance, when we take away the conditions that we place upon self-love.
Right. It makes me think of all the, I don't even, all the years, if you put all the hours, the minutes, the hours, days that I've spent giving myself a hard time, like if you, just all the hours, days wasted, like if I had chosen another thought pattern, what would that have looked like?
Yes.
Mhm.
So the good news is never too late to change. And in many years, you can, in many ways, you can reclaim those years by liberating yourself now and just going for it and just feeling that liberation and experiencing it and hiking because you love hiking,
Mhm.
eating your dessert because you love eating it,
Mhm.
and being with your new relationship because that feels so good,
Mhm.
and not have to worry about, oh, like, how do I look or how do I weigh? It's like, no, this is all great. We're starting from square one. It's all good. You can feel a lot of goodies and a lot of pleasure in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Life is too short.
Right. Yeah. I'm on the other end of it, so
Yes.
I gotta grab it while I can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. It sounds like you're doing it. I think you're doing it. I think you got it.
Okay, cool. I have some work to do. Um I can definitely do some meditation on that, some hiking on that, some moving on that. I like that. I like this. This is good.
And see if you can look at your body through kinder eyes.
Hmm.
Just kinder eyes.
Hmm.
It takes a little bit of work, or it takes intention.
Hmm.
And it's a practice. Because if you think about it, we can spend years looking at the body and practicing disapproval.
Right.
This isn't good enough yet. This isn't good enough yet. So let's do the other practice.
Hmm.
Hey, this is good enough. I'm good with this.
Right.
It's not perfect, but what is and who is?
Right. Right. It's funny because I'm smart enough to know better, quote unquote, and yet that conditioning is so ingrained that, it's just so frustrating because I know what you're saying is so right on.
Mhm.
And I've always known it. And yet I've allowed those old tapes, to keep playing.
Yes. And you allowed it because it's a powerful conditioning. It's a very
Yeah.
effective conditioning. It's worldwide conditioning.
Yeah.
And it starts from a very young age. And
Mhm.
it started at least 3 generations ago. So it's intense.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot to turn that around.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be easy for you. It's going to be way easier than you think at this stage of the game, because it just takes kind of that moment of, oh, right.
Yeah. 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 Well, I can see just what we've been talking about, that I can start putting those new tapes, playing the new tapes. When the old tape comes on, I can go, oh, rewind, put on the new tape, listen to the new tape 10 times, till I have it memorized.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we hit a good place here, Joanne.
Yeah, me too. This is really great. This is way more than I had anticipated. Thank you. Really appreciate your help.
You are so welcome. I appreciate a conversation that matters, you know?
Mhm.
And that's what this has been for me, and it sounds like for you as well.
Very much. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah. And good job. You really were and are and have been open to this conversation. And yeah, just been a real good sport about it. So thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, my friends. I so appreciate you all. More to come next time. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care, and remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.